Airman is closer. Airman is coming closer, I see him. Airman is...
Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'll be showing you how I beat Carmighty on beamNG's Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Jesus! He overtook me from the left! How did he do this? No!
All with the tremendous handicap of having the fastest car in the race? Anyhow, I'll be showing you how I tuned the Hirochi Sunburst hill climb to get a little bit more extra performance around the Nürburgring Nordschleife, so if you decide to try this yourself, you can have a little bit more fun and hopefully improve your own knowledge of the track and possibly your lap times as well. And hopefully, at the tail end of it, you'll feel worthy to wear your very own King in the Nord shirt, available in the description down below. Of course, make sure to subscribe as well for more beamNG content, so let's get to it. And here she is. What an absolutely epic, lovely looking beast, representing, of course, my channel colors with a bit of a chromey finish there. Anyhow, I'm going to show you what I did under the hood to make this just that little bit quicker than your old stock Hirochi Sunburst hill climb. Here we go. Control W. Go to the parts selector, click on body, and under left and right headlight, you want to set it to empty. I believe the default is, well, actually having a left and right headlight, but I figured, hey, this race isn't going to take place in the dark. I can save a few kilos of weight by just pulling this out. Pro tips right there. The key things that are taking place here are taking place in the tuning menu. The brakes, the front and rear bias. I believe the default was somewhere around 70, maybe 72%, which is insane. That's a massive front brake bias. I've taken this down to 56%, meaning that I can trail brake into corners, I can rotate and pivot the car into the apex as I want, and actually get the run through the corner that I'm after. The big one here is the fuel volume. I believe it defaults to 50 liters, which is the full size of the fuel tank, which is actually a fairly small fuel tank. Taking it down to 20 drops about 30 liters of weight, so about 30 kilos of weight, which is massive over the course of a 7-minute lap. 20 liters will still comfortably get you around one lap of the Nürburgring Nordschleife, so there you have it. If you want a more in-depth car tuning guide for beamNG, do let me know. It's something I've been considering for the future, and make sure to subscribe as well so that you do catch that in case I do. The differentials. The big one here is the base torque split. Essentially controls how much drive is happening on the front wheels compared to the rear wheels. A perfect 50-50 on a four-wheel drive car. There's 50% drive on the fronts and the rears as well. In our case, we're going a little bit more on the rears, which makes sense in dry conditions. It lets us rotate the car a little bit more on throttle. The big thing in the engine section is this, the RPM limit. I jacked it up to the max of 8,500. Now, this might seem good in theory. It's like, oh, I can rev out more. Surely it can be quicker. I mean, what's the potential downside? You'll realize when you complete one lap of the Nürburgring and smoke starts bellowing out of the engine bay. This is really a one-shot sort of solution, and I believe I increased the turbo pressure. The default is somewhere around 19, perhaps 20. I've jacked it up to 22 PSI. Any higher than this, and I tend to blow the motor before I complete the lap and actually costs me lap time. So, alright, down here in the suspension section, we have the anti-roll spring rate and the anti-roll spring rate for the rear. This is basically the sway bars. They're two bars that run horizontally across the car, which essentially control how much the car rotates and sways when under heavy load. More understeer, more oversteer. More understeer, more oversteer. I know I explained that poorly, but surely you can interpolate left understeer, right oversteer if I can get this back to 160,000. The big ones are the spring rate. You can see the spring rate on the front, that's the stiffness of the actual suspension spring, is maxed out in the front. It's almost maxed out in the rear. So this car is super stiff because it's high aero, massive hill climb setup. Normally on the Nordschleife we want it to be soft, but trust me, I've tried soft. Not a good time in this car. Spring height is essentially the ride height of the car. We look here, I'll be adjusting it. You can basically see the car moving accordingly. And we have it just a little bit lower in the front than we do in the rear. This gives the car a little bit of rake, gives it a little bit of a more desirable aerodynamic characteristic when we're really traveling fast. You can see it's not particularly low, like there's quite a bit of clearance. The reason for that is that the curbing in the Nürburgring is massively high, and if you go much lower than this, not only are you destroying the amount of suspension travel that you have, but the car is going to bottom out and basically rip off parts of its body kit. Not something that you need halfway through your magnificent hot lap. just take stock of the settings that I have here and replicate them for yourself. I can't exactly remember what I did compared to the stock ratio, but my main goal was to basically get the 6th gear so that it was right pinging near the top of the rev limiter when the car maxed out on the final straight, right? So you need to do a few laps to work this out. I've worked it out for you. And then the first gear, I wanted to make sure that I could launch it correctly without the gears bogging down too much. Now, in the wheel alignment, here's where the big stuff was done. You can see in the camber that I've actually dragged it way down. I think the stock was somewhere up at like 15 or something like that. And as I drag it down, you can see that the wheel camber increases, so the inward slant of the tires toward the inside of the car. What this essentially does is make sure that you have more grip, that more of the contact patch of the tire contacts the surface of the road while you're in a massive high G turn. Now, with the toe adjust, the toe is something that's quite important to make a car turn in, especially an understeery car like this. Doing a negative toe like this makes the tires point outward, which means that the car will actually turn in a lot more. If you overdo this though, the car will be extremely unstable to drive, so tread with caution. Following on in the rear, we kind of did the inverse. So with the camber adjust, we did halfway to the camber of the front. Generally speaking, this is how race cars are tuned. There's usually, if not always, more camber at the front than the rear, because the rears don't need it as much, and the rears are the ones putting down the majority of the power, meaning that if there's too much camber, there's not enough tire on the road surface itself to actually put down the acceleration, so you have to be very careful when it comes down to doing a lot of negative camber on the rear tires. Now in the rear, we've done the inverse with the toe. The toe, instead of pointing outward, actually points inward. The reason for this is that it stabilizes the car quite a lot. As you'll see when I do my lap, I need every bit of stability I can get because the car is wild around this circuit. Anyhow, with all of that ranting away, see if you can try and replicate the awesome look of this car as well, because really that's what gives it all of its magic. But other than that, that is all the settings that you need to replicate the lap that you're about to see. So let's do it. 7 minutes, the time to beat, the time I gave to Mighty, the time we calibrated off as we rev, no time to waste, and we launch. 2, 1,
go. Alright, there we go.
And the car bogs down. It loves to bog down. It's very difficult to lift off the clutch exactly as it wants in this configuration, but it's okay. We haven't lost too much time there, just a little bit of a bog down as we head down through Tiergarten now. Or towards Tiergarten rather, one of the biggest braking zones of the track, all flat out through here. As we get on the brake just after that curb, down to third. In most GT cars now, it's second for me, so third is a bit of a different thing. It's taken a bit of acclimating. I'm kind of calibrated to doing this in iRacing now because I'm training for GT3s. I've had to relearn this a little bit. I'm definitely not as warm as I was for Mighty's race, especially through the Sabine Schmitz curve here. You can see wrangling the wheel a little bit. Once the turbocharger kicks in above 6,000, the car wants to kick in. We dab on the brake a little bit, keep the nose in. The car's very understeery compared to modern GT cars, so I have to definitely bear that in mind.
Why do you look like your college estate from the graveyard?
Going down to fourth through here into Hatzenbach. Fourth through the entire section. Normally I'm jumping between, I think, second and third here, but fourth it is. Seems you maintain more time in this car if you just avoid shifting. Car has a sequential, so you don't lose too much time, but still. Better left committed to the 1 gear now. Keep your eyes posted on the bottom left corner. You'll see what my feet are doing there. You'll see what the brake and the throttle inputs are like. Keep in mind here. Dab on the brake, downshift to get through Flugplatz. Definitely not the slight lift that you would do in a modern GT3 car. It's interesting, jumping between the two, I definitely get an idea of where beamNG still has some room to improve. There's definitely some weird squirrely behavior, especially at high speed from this car. So slight lift here as we go in through, I think, Arenberg, or is it Schwedenkreuz? It's one of the two. Maybe Schwedenkreuz, this is Arenberg down to third. Trying not to go out too wide, right on the edge there. The car wants to understeer through there. You can see as soon as I push it past the slip angle, it starts to kind of dab a little bit. It starts to do this little swaying, bouncy behavior. Now that's partly because it's a hill climb spec, not really built for the Nordschleife. Dab on the brake, fifth, over the curb, eat the whole curb, down to fourth. Stick to the inside curve through there, brake in a straight line, kind of wrap it around. Nice big V through here. Got to be easy on the accelerator, otherwise you'll understeer out. A lot of drifting happens through there in real life. We head towards Sector 2 now. Exciting times. Probably not the pace that I had during the Mighty race, not as practiced as I was then. As we heavy on the brake through here, the car understeers out. Heavy on the brake again, down to third gear. Car understeers again. I missed the apex twice. Definitely not the best thing in the world, but we'll recover. We brake hard, Oh, a little too hard. I lock the tires, almost lose the car, almost spins out. Now you got to watch out when it comes to this car. It has no ABS, meaning if you go slightly over on the brake pedal, that is the end of your race. Down to 4th here, keeping it nice and tight. You got to miss, hit, miss. And now braking hard, slowest corner on the entire track. Want to make sure we get it down to 2nd gear by the apex. Yes. And still a little bit of understeer. So much understeer in this car, and it's so difficult to dial out. If I made it any more oversteer, it'd start doing that crazy bouncy behavior everywhere. Braking hard now. Down to 3rd. The one concrete wall on the track here, you gotta watch out. Dab on the brake, down a gear. Stick to the inside, keep it nice and clean. Decent exit through there. Very easy to spin the car out on the exit. So far, not too bad.
How far away is Ermin? Where's Ermin? Where's Ermin?
Ermin's like about 700 meters back.
Hard brake zone here, down to 3rd. Keep it tight through the right. On the power early, and make sure you get a really nice exit through here. This is one of the biggest power sections around the entire track, and it's all uphill. So big ask for the car. This is where I worry that I don't blow the actual engine based on the increase in boost and the increase in the rev limiter. I've definitely done some faster runs prior to this where the engine was a little worse for wear. By the time I got to Sector 3, I realized the lap was completely useless because I had no horsepower left. So I'm keeping a little bit in reserve here, hoping I can still make it by our designated time. Drop a gear, turning through Mut Curve, basically Bravery Corner, named very aptly. As you can see, my water meter there already orange. The car's not very happy. I don't have any smoke bellowing out of the engine bay, which is a really good start as we go down to 3rd here. One of the slower corners as we head toward the infamous, or rather famous, Caracciola Carousel. Brake nice and hard, down to 3rd for me here. Try and keep it in.
Ermin is closer. Ermin is coming closer, I see him. Ermin is...
This is one of those things where you need like a full day to readjust from car to car. That's okay. It was enough to beat Mighty. It's enough to, I don't know, complete the lap here. Down to 4th now, entering stage 3, my favorite part of the track. Definitely one of the scarier parts of the track. Lots of reliance on downforce, one of beamNG's current day shortfalls. Not saying it doesn't exist, just saying it needs a bit more development. As we stay in 5th this time around. There we go through Whipperman. One of my favorite corner complexes.
380. 380.
He's Australian, that's the answer.
Bro.
We head down to 4th. Again, a little bit of understeer through there. Very difficult to keep the car in.
I'm scared of Ermin, he's getting closer.
What happened? Adams, you stopped? Yeah.
Keeping it in 4th through here. We can dip down to 3rd, but it's a bit hard in the engine. I definitely don't want to risk blowing the motor. Nice and wide there through Brunchen. Had a bit of a snap mid-corner through there. Now hard on the brakes, down to 3rd, keeping it nice and pivoted in. Not bad, not bad. I'm actually pretty happy with that. The car doing its weird bouncing, skidding thing again. I'm definitely losing time because that I've not managed to dial it out of the car. Whether or not it's a setup issue or whether or not it's a beamNG shortfall under high downforce cars, really hard to say.
At this point, Ermin knows that he will overtake me on the main straight, so he's waiting for a safe spot to overtake.
I made a mistake and he's right behind me. Come on.
Definitely my suspension is too hard, but any softer is even worse. So here we go, blasting it all the way down. Definitely a lot of commitment required through this corner complex, and as soon as we get past that orange marker on the right, drop a gear. Not keep it nice and tight, or as tight as we can.
I can feel him behind me.
Oh, he's really close.
Car very understeery through here, understeering again, even in 4th. Going so slow. Now to 3rd now. Got to get it on the black stuff on the inside there. And then coming out, a bit of a snap on the exit. Didn't come out facing the way that I wanted to be facing.
Oh my god, I can hear him. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Tap on the brake, 4th. There we go, keep it nice and tight. Flat out and almost flat. I do a bit of a lift. I don't have the commitment. There you go. And here we are. No pass on the grass on the truck this time.
Jesus!
He overtook me from the left! How did he do this? No!
They're all coming.
So I can see I've given it what I think I have. Other than the sands, the lockup with the brake, it's been an okay run. It's been an okay. Maybe on track for that 7th flat. Let's see how we go.
Yes! 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 I'm second flat!
We're about to cross the threshold. And... oh, you absolute prick. Half a second off, 500 milliseconds as smoke begins billowing out of the car. We are destroyed. So you can see we've set the car up for a 1 lap, manic hot lap, and that's it. The engine will survive nothing else. Emulate everything there other than that brake lockup. Let me know how you guys go. Anything around the 7 mark, hell, even though the low 7 range is quite impressive through here, so let me know how you go after this setup. If you guys want to support the channel, grab some sick Fanatec gear like what I used in this video down below, and of course, if you feel brave enough, maybe after trying this setup in a few laps, grab yourself a King in the Nord shirt. If there's anything I can say after finishing this lap, they're very sweat absorbent too. Anyway, make sure to subscribe for the next video, guys. Shout out to Mighty, thank you for involving me in that amazing race, and until the next one, I'll see you guys later.